Peace and blessings, family. Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me for another live session. Welcome, welcome, welcome to all of you. I pray that you are all doing well. We are nearly 1 year in, and it seems like it's been 10 years under this administration. Is anyone exhausted with the hourly breaking news coming out of the Trump administration? It's like one thing after another. Trump exhaustion. That's what it is. Is it that way for anybody else or just me? It's like, what is it now? And have you figured out that when BB comes to town, conflict and turmoil is just around the corner? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. But here's the thing. This president is like a mirror for this nation. He represents the imperialistic, supremacist mindset of European colonizers. Those other nations on his hit list, they should be worried right now because he will act first and worry about the fallout later. He behaves like a king. So it doesn't matter if his actions in Venezuela was legal or not, really, because by the time any action is taken by Congress, it's too late. He will have had what he wanted. He wanted access to their oil, their gold, the rare earths. That's a biggie. He's got to get that Stargate finished. So by the time they finally figure out how they're going to handle this, oh well, he will have what he wanted. Greenland seems to be the next target, but Cuba, Canada, Mexico, they should be on alert. Look, this, oh my gosh, you will get whiplash trying to pay attention to everything that's going on around here. Because the mindset of a colonizer is if we want it, we're going to take it and justify it using propaganda. It doesn't have to be true. 2025 was a mess. What do you think 2026 is going to be like? So I say buckle up. Buckle up. We cannot, though, afford to overlook the connection between church and state with everything that's happening. We have to look at the two together. Look at what's happening with the state, as in the government, and also look at what is going on with the church. The religious component may not be easily identifiable, but you can be sure that it's a part of it. The doctrine of discovery was sanctioned by the Roman Catholic Church because Europeans already had a desire to exploit the resources of other nations. We see it being played out today. That is exactly what's happening. It's a continuation. And that leads me to the topic for this session. They need to merge all of the world religions into one. For those who may not know it, Catholicism is experiencing a surge in conversions across America, particularly among the youth who are somewhat passionate about social justice issues right now. But what's really behind this shift? That's the question we need to be asking. We need to pay attention to their efforts to merge these various faiths into one universal religion. That's the goal. And they need to have the right people in place to make that happen. We're talking about the last day kings. Revelation 17:13 says these kings, representing various nations, have one purpose: to give their power and authority to the beast. I know I came right out of the gate swinging. Oh my goodness. But yeah, we need to understand that there is a secret weapon at work, and it will undermine what they call the democratic system. It's already doing it by showing the world that it does not work, particularly for non-European countries. The system they call democracy was put in place for them. It was never about true democracy. It's about capitalism. It's the continuation, as I said, of colonization. When you really look at the nations they colonized, even though those nations now claim that they have been liberated, the colonizers' hands are still in the cookie jar. Let's remember that the Catholic Church claimed that they had the authority to give European nations the right to subjugate indigenous nations and exploit them under the pretext of evangelizing the world. So Europeans went into those nations and gave them Christianity and took all their wealth. Religion was used to create the system, and religion is going to be used to dismantle it. Why? Because they need to set up the new one. And that's what's happening right now around the world. A one world system and a universal religion will be the framework. Now, as I shared in previous sessions, the Roman Catholic Church is on the move. It represents the Roman Empire, the legs of iron and feet mixed with clay in the book of Daniel. This article from the Independent says the only person who can stop Donald Trump now is Pope Leo. The question is, does he really want to stop him? Or are we looking at the bad cop, good cop routine? Are we looking at players who are on the same team? We need to be thinking about that because there's more to this than meets the eye. It goes on to say that when the cardinals of the Roman Catholic Church gathered behind closed doors last year, or when he was elected as Pope, to elect a successor to Pope Francis, pundits the world over produced lists of likely candidates for the papal throne. If there was one thing the experts agreed on, it was that an American did not have a chance. So the experts were saying this, you all. Why? Because the U.S. has superpower status. They didn't think that the cardinals would want to extend America's influence even more by choosing an American pope. So what happened? Something obviously changed all that. It says, but the conclave did just that by selecting Robert Provost. So some are saying things like, well, he may be an American, but he's not in Donald Trump's pocket. Have you ever considered that it may be the other way around? We know that these leaders are taking orders, and folks only think about the political arena, but the seat of authority does not originate with the state. It comes from the church. There's a reason why they swear on a Bible. There was never a separation of church and state. I need you to think about that. Never a separation between church and state. So are we looking at players on the same team? Pause and think about that. Rome used the message of the gospel in our books to create a religion called Christianity. And I know folks get upset when I say that. They don't like that. They don't want to hear that. But I can't worry about your feelings right now. It's the truth. Leaven has been added to the bread, and it has changed it into something else. Think about it. Who gave the European kings the green light to subjugate and colonize indigenous nations, the Roman Catholic Church. Rome never died. It morphed into the Roman Catholic Church. That's why it's called Roman Catholic Church. After the church split, it separated into other factions, the Daughters of Rome. And now the Mother Church is bringing them back into the fold. And she's either going to dismantle or synchronize her doctrine with the other religions to bring about the one world religion. It will have elements of various pagan beliefs. It's called religious syncretism. If you study her history, you'll see that the Catholic Church has mastered religious syncretism. As I said before, that's how you ended up with Christmas, Easter, Halloween, now celebrated as a fall festival, all of the Catholic Church's feast days. They replaced ours with theirs. But all of these things happen because of the mixing, the synchronizing of different religions, different groups. Let's go back to the book of Daniel. Nebuchadnezzar saw the earthly kingdoms made of gold, bronze, silver, and iron, but Daniel saw the spiritual entities behind them. So think of the two as visions of the church and state. Daniel said the great beasts came from the sea. They came out of the sea. So think marine kingdom spirits. Based on his description, you know that they were not natural animals. Lions are not supposed to have wings. Some would say, well, the next one was a bear, and bears are natural. But pay attention to his words in verse 5. He said it was like a bear. It had those features. The leopard had 4 wings of a fowl or a bird, and it had 4 heads. Daniel struggled to describe the last beast. I would think that it was so strange that there were no words to describe it. He said it was dreadful and terrible and very strong with iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped in residue with its feet. This is colonization and the way it was done. Clearly, these are hybrid creatures. Now, when you read Revelation 13, it's like, how do you not see that Daniel's prophecy is tied to that? You kind of have to read the two side by side. The beast being described appears to be an amalgamation of various beasts. And where did the beast come from? It came from the sea. The beast has great power, authority, and strength. The beast's appearance is like a leopard with feet like a bear and a mouth like a lion. Who gave power to the beast? The dragon. He gave it his power, throne, and great authority. Why? Verse 4 tells us it's all about worship. Daniel didn't see another beast after the 4th one. So the final ruling power will be associated with that 4th empire. And that empire is the Roman Empire. When you think about worship, you know that it's a religious act. So how can you believe that the Roman Empire, how can you think that it really represents the way, the truth, and the life? Just think about that. Why would they? No, it's a form of godliness that sanctioned the traditions of men to deceive the masses. Its ultimate goal is to get people to worship the beast. Again, I know folks will defend Christianity because they really believe that it's the religion of the apostles, but it's not. Supposedly, it's the religion of love. No laws, just love. Forget about justice, forget about righteousness, just focus on love. So basically, the enemy has presented himself as an angel of light. Because when you examine the works of the Catholic Church over the centuries and look at things like the Inquisition and colonization, and still say it's based on love, then you're a liar and there is no truth in you. That's all I can say. You are a liar. Let's look at this from the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops. It says Leo has expressed deep concern over the situation in Venezuela, particularly following the capture of Maduro by U.S. forces. The Pope called for the good of the Venezuelan people to prevail over other considerations, emphasizing the need to overcome violence and pursue paths of justice and peace. Let's talk about the hypocrisy here. The United States is trying to hold a president of another nation accountable for breaking America's laws, but it will not hold the president of the United States accountable for breaking the nation's laws. Make that make sense. Why not start with justice here in America? Condemn the actions of the men involved in the Epstein scandal. Hold the CIA accountable for placing drugs in communities where our people live. Do we even need to talk about slavery? Let's go on. It says, he has also called for the respect of Venezuela's sovereignty and the rule of law, ensuring the human and civil rights of all individuals. Now, don't miss this part. He invited the Venezuelan people to pray for peace and has entrusted them to the intercession of the Virgin Mary of Cormato, patroness of Venezuela and other saints. You all, Christianity is the most widely followed religion in Venezuela, with Roman Catholicism representing the largest share. An estimated 65 to 70% of the population identifies as Catholic. Let that sink in. Less than 25% identify as Catholic here. Maduro comes from a Roman Catholic background. He was born into a Catholic family and publicly identifies as a Christian. Something to think about, right? Now, this brings us to the main point of this message. We need to talk about Mariology. Who is the one they call Lady of Coronado, the patron saint of Venezuela? Who are we talking about? It says September 2nd is her coronation day. She is the queen and patroness of Venezuela. So in the last session, I talked about some of the various names for her. Queen of Heaven being one of them, Our Lady another. But her consecration was performed by Pius XII in 1952. It says she was venerated in the city of Guanair, where she appeared on September 8th, 1652. 1652. What was happening in the 1600s? So it says Venezuelans celebrate her several times a year. Now listen, it says when the city was founded in 1591, the indigenous inhabitants of the region fled to the jungle north of the city, and it made it difficult to evangelize in that region. I wonder why the people were fleeing to the jungle. Why would they flee to the jungle? It made it difficult to evangelize them. It says, then one day in 1561, the chief Coromato and his wife were crossing a stream of water. They saw a lady of extraordinary beauty who told them to go to the white's house and ask them to pour water on your head so you can go to heaven. Now, family, go to the white man's house. He will pour water on your head so you can go to heaven. You can't make this stuff up. We know about this one, don't we? To get you to believe their lies, they will prop up one that looks like you and let them feed the lies to you. Now let's dig into this a little deeper. We'll look at this article where it says, this woman appeared holding her baby Jesus in her arms, and she was standing on the water. She was standing on the water. I wonder if she came out of the water too. Supposedly, she left a relic. Now listen to the mission of the worldwide apostolate of the Virgin of Coromato. It is to make her known worldwide, not her son. No, they are saying they need to make her known worldwide. Where did this doctrine come from? The Roman Catholic Church. It's leaven. So the mission of this group is dedicated to honoring this sacred apparition by sharing her message. Listen, her message is of love and devotion. Don't miss this. It says this is rooted in Venezuelan heritage and guided by Marian spirituality. They want to spread her maternal presence to every corner of the world. Now let's turn to Trump. This comes from Just Catholic. It's talking about Trump's Catholics and the gospel. It says, while he hires Catholics, there is nothing remotely related to Catholic social teaching in his actions. This says, Donald Trump, who spent 2 college years at a Jesuit school, seems to have an affinity for hiring Catholics. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Robert Kennedy Jr. are cradle Catholics, as is Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy. Education Secretary Linda McMahon is a convert, and so is J.D. Vance. It also mentions Elon Musk. It says he was baptized in the Anglican Church of South Africa. This article from EWTN says the Trump administration is more Catholic than you know. It says he has surrounded himself with huge numbers of strong Christian and strong Catholic people. His vice president may very well be the most articulate Catholic politician in the modern world. His cabinet, Trump's cabinet, is more than a third Catholic, and more importantly, they are serious Catholics. Now, add all of the podcasters and other social media influencers to the mix who converted to Catholicism, then use their platforms to help him get elected. So now a lot of people are starting to convert to the religion who never considered it before. Let's watch this next clip.
I'll go back to John Dickerson in New York with more tonight. John?
As you might expect, Americans have hailed the election of Pope Leo from his hometown of Chicago all the way to the White House. More now from CBS's Ed O'Keefe.
The way the Sisters of Mercy in Philadelphia reacted today is how many American Catholics did when they heard the news. They gathered outside churches.
Very exciting, an American Pope.
Now, just a note here, many saw him as more than the first American Pope. They see him as the first Peruvian to serve in that office.
And bells rang out nationwide, including at the Pope's alma mater, Villanova University. At St. Matthew's Cathedral in Washington, Bunting, mourning the death of Pope Francis, made way for a celebration of a new pope tonight.
Come together to rejoice.
Among those moved by the news, Debbie Figgenshaw.
I was kind of crying while I was watching TV, and I just thought I wanted to come and say a prayer and start being a practicing Catholic again, because I felt so good about it.
So he brought you back?
So kind of, yes.
Ashton Adams came too.
I'm from Kansas City, so I love to see a Midwest boy win. That's very exciting for me. I feel like we should, as a country, send him a deep dish pizza, just to say congratulations.
At the White House, President Trump celebrated the news.
To have the Pope from the United States of America, that's a great honor.
Vice President J.D. Vance, who converted to Catholicism nearly 6 years ago, also congratulated the new pontiff. Vance drew criticism from church leaders, including then Cardinal Prevost, earlier this year, over his interpretation of the definition of Christian love. Former President Joe Biden, the second Catholic president, wished him success, and former President Barack Obama congratulated a fellow Chicagoan.
So, Ed, you cover politics normally. How do you, in this moment, see this intersection between the first American Pope and your normal beat, the traditions of American politics?
Well, John, if the most American thing a kid can dream is that anybody can grow up to be president in this country, what does it say now that American Catholic boys, at least, can realistically dream that they could one day become Pope? It's a real change in the American experience. And we discovered today that Pope Leo has actually participated in a very American thing. He voted. According to Illinois state records, we don't know who exactly he voted for, whether it was in person or absentee, but he voted in last November's election. He voted in the 2016 Republican primary, even the 2008 Democratic primary. So he's done that. And the other thing Catholics and non-believers alike are likely going to be watching for very closely in the coming weeks and years is how his pastoral views on immigration contrast with President Trump and Vice President Vance, and to what extent the Pope decides to make that contrast public.
Now, what are the odds that there would be an American Pope and a Catholic U.S. president at the same time? Given the right conditions, that would definitely be a win-win for Catholics, particularly with how poorly Trump is doing in the polls. Vance would unite the secular with the cloth. This says the Catholic Church's influence extended beyond the religious realm, impacting the political, social, and economic aspect of medieval Europe. The Church's hierarchical structure and its ability to exert power over secular authorities contributed to the Church's dominance in society during the Middle Ages. The Church's power was derived from its spiritual authority, economic dominance, political influence, and intellectual monopoly. This article from Catholic News Agency says Vice President Vance presents a Christian vision of politics. It says U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance, America's second Catholic Vice President, laid out a distinctly Christian vision for American politics in a speech this week, declaring that the only thing that has truly served as an anchor of the United States of America is that we have been, and by the grace of God, we always will be a Christian nation. The former U.S. Senator and Catholic convert credited President Donald Trump for ending the cultural war that has been waged on Christians and Christianity in the United States of America, touting the administration's policy priorities as the fruit of Christian motivation. Now, it's interesting that he converted to Catholicism in 2019, but now he's positioning himself as the poster child for Christian values in America. The current administration has not completed one full year yet, and already folks are endorsing him to become the next president. He says, America is a Christian nation. But this article from the Philadelphia Inquirer says, is it? America was shaped by Judeo-Christian principles, but it was never intended to be a theocracy. America's unity is powerful precisely because we do not have a state religion. Maybe he's planning to change that. Let's look at this article from the Economic Times. It says J.D. Vance emerges as the clear 2028 GOP front runner. Is New Hampshire already pointing to the Republican nominee? It says Vice President J.D. Vance has established a commanding lead in the race for the 2028 Republican presidential nomination, according to recent data from New Hampshire. A University of New Hampshire Granite State poll conducted in October reveals that 51% of likely Republican primary voters backed Vance as their top choice. This early surge places the vice president in a historic position, as he currently holds a massive 42-point lead over his closest potential rivals. But he has a major problem. No one seems to like him. This Newsbreak article says Republicans have a J.D. Vance problem. No one seems to like him, with Donald Trump reportedly acknowledging to his inner circle that an unconstitutional third term is unlikely. Attention has shifted to Vice President J.D. Vance, who has positioned himself as a potential successor without formally announcing his candidacy. Here's what he has going for him. In comparison to Donald Trump, who is very unpopular right now and neck deep in scandals, folks desperate to save the Republican base will hold their nose and vote for him. That's why the establishment is presenting him as the alternative early, before a better candidate can be vetted. Just like they used religion to take over in the past, religion will be used to execute the demands of the beast in the one world system. What part do you think the Roman Catholic Church will play in that? The same role it played in sanctioning colonization and slavery. The takeover of America is currently underway. Let's look at this article. It's based on information from the book Ravening Wolves by Monica Farrell. It says the formula for takeover. Farrell first provides an overview of the Roman Catholic process to conquer a nation. It says it is only when conditions prevailing in a country, through the alertness of Protestants, prevent Rome from carrying out her designs, that her methods for the time being are changed, and she seeks to rule by apparently gentle persuasion. Her present technique is, first of all, to call her devotees to a crusade of prayer, claiming a country for Mary. Secondly, if the Protestant population allows her to get away with it, to dedicate the country to Mary. This done, it only remains for her to urge her people to a holy warfare, to actually possess that which they have already claimed by dedication. And Protestants, who have by their silence consented to an act carried out in their name, are rudely awakened to the fact that they have unconsciously betrayed their country, their people, and their God. So a three-phase process is put in place. First, there's a crusade of prayer claiming a country for the Virgin Mary, then a dedication of the country to the Virgin Mary, and finally a holy war to possess that nation. So the author of the book then explains how Rome followed this formula in its takeover of Australia. It says in 1948, she says, step 2 was accomplished when Australia was dedicated to the Virgin Mary. On page 10, under the heading, The War Declared, we read, on the 9th of May 1948, Cardinals Spellman and Gilroy officiated at the dedication of Australia to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. This is the type of prayer that was offered. So they prayed this prayer called the Immaculate Heart of Mary, an act of consecration. They call Mary the powerful Virgin and Mother of merciful kindness. You all, how can she still be a virgin if she had other children? But listen to this. They call her the Queen of Heaven. That's significant, and we need to talk about that. They call her the refuge of sinners, and then say they consecrate themselves to her immaculate heart. They pledge themselves, their bodies, hearts, and souls, their homes, families, and land to Mary. They go on to say that they desire that everything in them and around them should belong to her. I'll drop down where it says they pledge themselves to make courageous and constant profession of the truths of their faith and to live Catholic lives in full submission to all the directions of the Pope and of the bishops in communion with him. Anything there about the one who died for them? But this is the vision for America's future. Now let's take a look at some excerpts from this book called The Queen of Heaven, and it says Mama Shiavana, which means the Black Mother, a delineation of the great idolatry traced in facts and customs, sanctioned and promoted by the teaching and authority of the Roman Catholic Church. This book was written in 1898. So it begins by talking about the Madonna of the Pignacica and the shrine, which is now placed at the corner of a street leading to St. Liborio. So it begins by talking about the shrine and describing it as being a little strip of building that's jutting out of the wall and forming a sort of cowl or hood above it, and it's guarded by a door or iron railing. And the picture is covered with votive gifts. To the right, I just inserted some of the images, and there are many images of Black Madonnas found in various museums. So this goes on to say that they call the image of Madonna Our Lady of Sorrow. They also call her the Queen of Heaven, of angels and of men, of earth and hell. It says she is crowned to show that this very Madonna, this very image, rightfully and authoritatively claims the veneration, the worship of the faithful throughout the world. The author says that her character forms into different ideal divinities, just like the goddesses of Egyptian, Grecian, or Roman mythology, and initiating and perpetuating a cult as utterly pagan as theirs, an image worship as really heathen and idolatrous, and as formally and officially recognized by the church and priesthood. It says the Madonna Adelaide of the Pignacica is the Black Mother. It says there's the Mama Shiavana and another one called Our Lady of Laurado. The author goes on to say that there are hundreds or hundreds more all black Madonnas. He says, "Why are they thus idolized as black I cannot tell, unless it is to refer to the passages in Song of Songs that speaks about being black but comely." I think we know why her skin is that color. They know it too, but they won't admit it. But if she was that color, what color was her son? Now listen to this part because it really makes it clear that they're not really talking about Mary. They're worshiping the same Queen of Heaven that the pagans worshiped in ancient societies, the same one that the Most High told us not to worship. So they call her the Queen of Mercy and the Queen of Heaven, then bowing down to the image. They say since she was raised to the dignity of Mother of the King of Kings, the Church justly honors her and commands that she be honored as Queen. They regard the glory of the royalty which the mother and son enjoy not only as common to them both, but as divine. Being appointed queen, she justly possesses the entire kingdom of her son. Therefore, as many creatures as serve God also serve Mary. And since all creatures, angels, men, and all things in heaven and earth are subject to the empire of God, they also are subject to the dominion of the glorious Virgin. Thus, she is Queen of Providence. They go on to hail her, but listen to this. They say, to her power and royalty are due as spouse and mother of the King of Kings. Let's stop right there. The spouse and mother. What are we really talking about here? Who are we really talking about here? And how in the world can they say that they are not worshiping her? Clearly they are. And the goal is to have everyone else on earth worship her. To do that, they need to bring people into the fold of the Roman Catholic Church. We're going to read some articles from this article from Catholic Answers. So this is a Q&A discussion between Michael Knowles and Cy Kellett. So it says Michael discusses how the future of religion in the U.S. may lead to a resurgence of Catholicism, highlighting the Church's unique role in providing a universal authority amidst a diverse society. So Cy is saying essentially the question for you, Michael Knowles, is how do we make the United States Catholic? Michael replies by saying, really good question. I think give it enough time is my simple answer. And it's not just soft soap and wishful thinking because Alexei de Tocqueville, who's the greatest analyst of American democracy ever, writes in the second volume of Democracy in America, he says, look, it's a Protestant country, but over time it's going to tend in two directions. It's already there. It's going to either give up religion entirely because democracies hate heavenly authorities. So they want to give up any authority. But if they maintain a religious authority, they want that authority to be uniform. And the only religion that has a proper universal uniformity to it is the Catholic Church. And so America will give up religion entirely or will move to the Church of Rome. He says, and I think a lot of people would have laughed at this until recently, because you're now seeing a big uptick in Catholicism, especially in the United States, not merely because of mass migration, but because of adult conversions. And you're seeing this through the West. You're seeing this in France as well. I'm not terribly surprised to see it because I think, it's the true church and will survive all of the schisms and the heresies. But another reminder, too, that even our political order established by pilgrims and Puritans and separatists and Protestants, not too many Catholics among them. If you look at the political order of the United States as it's outlined in the Constitution, and you read St. Thomas Aquinas on the ideal regime in the Summa Theologiae, it's actually kind of hard to find much distinction between the two. And so we might have more of a Catholic country than we think, even just below the surface already. But that shouldn't be surprising because the Protestant churches are the daughters of the Roman Catholic Church. So now Sy says that there are those who say they want a theocracy. They want it to be a Catholic country. Michael replies by saying that theocracy has a real definition, though people abuse that term. He says theocracies are ruled by religious clerics. Then he says, we do have an American citizen who is a monarch of a country. That would be Pope Leo. He is an American who happens to be a monarch, but he went to Rome to do that. And that's something most people fail to realize, that the Pope is actually considered to be a monarch. Let's look at this from Seek Legal Clarity. Is the Pope the King of Vatican City? It says, is the Pope a king? Understand the unique blend of spiritual and temporal authority defining his role in sovereign Vatican City. So Vatican City is a tiny independent state nestled within Rome, Italy. It presents a unique intersection of spiritual authority and temporal governance. Questions often arise about the Pope's status within its borders, particularly whether he functions as a king. This inquiry highlights the distinctive legal and political structure of Vatican City. The Pope holds absolute temporal power as the sovereign of Vatican City State, encompassing legislative, executive, and judicial functions. This makes him an absolute monarch in the traditional sense. While his primary role is spiritual leadership for over 1 billion Catholics worldwide, he simultaneously exercises complete governmental control over Vatican City. This dual capacity, where a religious figure serves as a head of state with full sovereign powers, is a unique arrangement. So it says he delegates much of the day-to-day administrative work to the Pontifical Commission for Vatican City, but he retains ultimate authority. Laws passed by these bodies require his approval, ensuring all governmental actions align with his directives as the Holy See's mission. It goes on to say Vatican City is the smallest country globally, covering approximately 0.44 square kilometers with around 882 residents. Its existence ensures the spiritual freedom and independence of the Holy See, allowing the Pope to exercise, listen, universal authority without being subject to any other earthly power. Despite its diminutive size, Vatican City possesses all attributes of a sovereign state, including its own flag, anthem, currency, postal system, and legal system. Its governance structure, directly under the Pope, serves as a territorial base for the central administration of the Catholic Church, allowing it to engage with the international community. It goes on to say a common point of confusion exists between the Holy See and Vatican City, yet they are distinct legal entities. The Holy See represents the universal government of the Catholic Church, serving as an international legal personality with worldwide diplomatic relations. It embodies the Pope's spiritual and moral authority and has existed as a judicial entity for centuries, even without territorial control. That may explain why U.S. presidents and other world leaders make a trip to the Vatican after they are inaugurated. It goes on to say, in contrast, Vatican City State is the physical territory and temporal jurisdiction over which the Pope exercises sovereignty. While the Pope heads both, the Holy See conducts diplomatic relations and enters into international agreements, not Vatican City State directly. This distinction is crucial in international law, as the Holy See's legal personality is separate from the territorial state it governs. Basically, they see him as embodying the gifts and calling given to Israel. They see him as the universal priest, prophet, and king. This, as the Bishop of Rome, exercises his ministry in a unique way, of course, as pastor of the universal church. In practically everything he does, he has special responsibility for preserving and building unity among members of the largest, most widespread, and ethnically diverse organization on earth. Now, hopefully you can see that he also embodies what Rome is. The empire transitioned into the Roman Catholic Church and created the religion of Christianity. It was not Messiah nor his disciples. Catholicism is the religion of the universal church that Rome built. Now let's remember that the earliest use of this phrase, the Catholic Church, came into use between 107 and 115 AD, and it was supposedly introduced by Ignatius of Antioch. Where is Antioch? In Turkey. It is believed that Ignatius wrote this in one of his letters. He said, wherever Jesus Christ is, there is the Catholic Church. So before that time, what were the early believers called? What was Messiah called? It goes on to say early 2nd century authors such as Justin Martyr, Irenaeus, and Tertullian use the adjective Catholic, meaning universal or throughout the whole, to describe the church or its doctrines. By the late 2nd century, the term is widely used by church fathers to identify the one universal apostolic communion founded by Christ. Who are these church fathers they're referring to? Gentile converts. So it says the label Catholic is central to Christian identity. It appears in the Apostles' Creed. So folks had to say that they believed in the Holy Catholic Church and in the church's self-description as being the one holy Catholic and apostolic church. But when did Christians first adopt that label for the church? What did they mean by it? And how does that usage connect the early Christian communities to the apostles and historically to the Roman Catholic Church's claims of continuity? The primary witness points to the early 2nd century bishop called Ignatius of Antioch. So it says, while Ignatius's letters are widely used as early evidence, scholars debate textual transmission, as in some variant recensions. Now, I need you to really understand what this word recension means. The term recension refers to a critical revision of a text, particularly one that has been edited or revised based on examination of its sources. It originates from the Latin word recensio, meaning review or enumeration. In textual criticism, it often involves collecting and analyzing source texts to establish a hypothetical original text. So the Roman Catholic Church called themselves reviewing the original manuscripts and then clarifying various words. That can be a good thing for those with pure intentions, but it's also a way to pollute the original intent and add in leaven, like adding in the word Easter, to make folks think that that word was in the original text. Because ultimately, folks will believe that the apostles and disciples celebrated that as a feast day. Lies, lies, lies. This is why we're told to rightly divide. But what do we use as the standard? The Old Testament, not the New. You have to see how it lines up with what was already written. The Old Testament is for our learning. We use it like a measuring rod. It's not just for historical reference. It's essential because it serves as the foundation for understanding Yah's ways and his promises. Romans 15:4 says, "For whatsoever things were written aforetime." The disciples did not have a New Testament. Whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the Scriptures might have hope. So let's look at a few things, family. We'll talk about a few things. This Queen of Heaven, Mary, that they're venerating, there are so many names for her. Ishtar, Anat, Ashtoreth, Astarte, Semiramis, the wife of Nimrod, many names. But the Roman Catholic Church would have us believe that they're talking about the mother of Messiah. No, no. When you go back and do the research, this Mariology, the worship of Mary, it was being done in ancient days. Actually, our people were involved in worshiping the Queen of Heaven. And I talked about that in the last session. And they were rebuked because of it. So we need to make sure that we understand this is paganism. It's the leaven that they've added in. And now they've basically set them up in our place. The Roman Catholic Church set themselves up in our place. So you have the Pope, also known as the Holy See, another way of saying the governing authority of the Roman Catholic Church. And see basically means seat. So you rule from the seat of authority. So you can say their base of operations would be there at the Vatican. But they're spread all over the place, all over. Because remember, the authority is going to come from that religious head first. And then they distribute those powers, the authority, certain rights, etc., to their kings, those who are set up in certain positions. We see that happening because they are preparing for what is coming. They are preparing. So we certainly should be preparing as well. Our hearts, our minds, we have to stay focused. We have to fast, pray, find time to sit in Yah's presence, and remember that the Most High will reward those who diligently seek Him. We can't try to have a microwave religion with the Most High. That's not for us. We need to spend time with Him, spend time in His Word, spend time in praise and worship, etc., so that we can prepare our hearts and minds for what's coming. And the other thing I wanted to share, family, because it's there are more and more people who are putting information out there that the Rev 29ers are not the people. And more of our people are putting out information declaring that we are the people. And you will have some of them who will try to push back at us, say, oh, you all are racist, and God is a God of love, and he loves everybody. Listen, do not apologize for being chosen. They didn't apologize when they were saying they were chosen based on a skin color. And many of them still believe that they are superior because of their skin color. So don't apologize. Don't try to rationalize it, because we didn't call ourselves to this. It was our Father's doing. And he didn't do it based on a skin color, because there are other people with melanated skin color. We do know that, right? But Gentiles want to be the chosen, but they don't want to walk in our shoes. They want the blessings, but interestingly, they seem to be exempt from any of the judgments. They're exempt, but they can't believe that Israel would be. So don't apologize for who you are. He placed this on us. He gave us his name. He said, you are my people. Don't try to, some of us are trying to make everybody feel better, feel like, okay, well, you're a part of it too. Okay, yes. But that does not disqualify or change the fact that he set a people apart unto himself. We have to wait until it's all said and done to know exactly why it was us, because I'm just telling you all the stuff our ancestors got into. There's been times when I'm like, Abba, did you pick the most obstinate people on the planet? Because he said we were stiff-necked, we were stubborn. But boy, when he breaks you down, he's a master at it. We got a royal beat down. But that's how a father is going to deal with his son, because he's looking at the end result. He's looking at where we need to be. Yeah, the behind may still be blistered. You might be walking a bit strange because you're still feeling it. You're still wearing the scars. And that's the one thing that the Gentiles seem to ignore. They want the blessings. They want the name. They don't want the scars, though. Go back and read through Scripture. All of those that the Most High appointed to a certain level, they had to go through something. They had to be willing to endure. You know who the exception was? Saul. Think about that. Saul. And what was the end result? He never went through the training. He never had to deal with the pain, the suffering. David had to hide out in caves with his family, running from Saul, trying to survive. Moses, they almost took him out at birth. He had to eventually leave when he decided to stand up for his people. Had to live on the backside of the desert before he came back. Just think about Joseph, what he went through. So when someone is trying to elevate you to a position of leadership or authority, and it's just a cakewalk, you need to pause and reconsider that. You need to pause and think about that. So the call is going to come with a cost. You're going to pay, not as in earning it, but it's going to cost you something. The same way I'm saying we have to stay focused, fast, pray, find time to sit in his presence. The character building is going to happen over time. You learn how to walk in excellence over time, and that is going to be our testimony in the end. We will have a song that the angels can't sing. No one else will be able to sing, because we're going to be able to look back and see how far Abba Yah has brought us. And that's why I'm saying don't apologize for being his chosen. He did that. You didn't. If they have an issue with it, take it up with him. Talk to him and ask him why. Why them and not me? Would you have been able to endure? That may be a good question. The chains, the iron around the neck, somebody sleeping with your wife, selling off your kids, and we're still here by the grace of the Most High Yah. I'm not saying we got it all together. We most certainly don't. A lot of our people are dealing with major issue. But would you be able to come through something like that and not have major issues? So let's see what some of you are saying. Again, I know I started right off getting into it, but I know that I knew that I had a lot to cover. So I did want to say in the last live, I mentioned reading The Secret Place if you were struggling with prayer, learning how to pray, etc. And I forgot to ask the moderators to put the link for the book in the chat. So if the moderators, they probably have, more than likely, they're on it. I'm so thankful for these moderators. But if that's your challenge, then I would encourage you to read that, because you need to know how to pray in these last and evil days. You need to know how to get into the Most High's presence. You need to know that your prayers are answered. So, there are a lot of things that we're still learning, but we know that he wants us to be knowledgeable about the things concerning him. He says his people are destroyed because they lack knowledge. So let's look at some of these comments and see what you're saying. And welcome to all of our new listeners. If you're joining us for the first time, be sure to put that in the chat so that our moderators can welcome you. Shaya says, church and state have always been married into one family. For sure. How are you? The whole truth, so help me, Yah. Peace and blessings to you as well. Miss Katina's talking about the Pope is King of Kings, Revelation 17, Mystery Babylon, all connected. Most certainly all connected. Let's go on. And those legs of iron that Daniel's talking about. Lizette says they have a doctrine of demons. Doctrine of demons. Mariah is talking about the trillions retailers make year after year after year. Yeah, oh yeah, they've been profiting big time off of us. Let's see. Kevin says all these beastly religions are coming together to form an official beast supergroup. That's exactly what it is. Just mixing it all together, all of the paganism, all of it, different doctrines. Yes, all of it. And for those of you who are just joining us, if you haven't hit the like button, be sure to do that. Let's see. How you doing, Brother Harold? Good to have you with us. Let's see. Who else? Roderick's talking about the lawless religion. That's exactly right. It's like, oh, you don't need the law. It's all been done away with. Just think about that. It's all been done away with. But he said, I'm going to write my laws on your heart and in your mind. He did away with it so that he can write it in our hearts and in our mind. Does that even make sense? I mean, really, just think about it. Roderick says Catholic Church whole history written in blood. And I mean, really, they have a history. Saul says they use violence but want peace from others. Yeah, we're supposed to walk in love. But how did they colonize the other nations? Were they walking in love, peace, and love? You all turn the other cheek. You need to turn the other cheek. It's your turn now. We've been turning long enough. Show us how that's done. Be the example for the rest of the world. Walk in love and turn the other cheek. Be the example for a change and stop telling everyone else to do it. Let's go on. The U.S. is the most violent country on the planet. Yeah, the land is full of blood. And the Most High has kept records. Hypocrisy at its highest. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see what else. Yeah. On the wise. All of the nations are in on this. They are faking. I mean, you have to wonder about some of it now. But they have their people in the right positions. Most of those leaders, they set up in those positions. Sister Davida is just too funny, you all. She says, just in case you don't know what the thumbs up button looks like. Oh my goodness. Oh goodness. Let's see. Just a few more. Yeah, they love them some Mary now. The beast that comes from the sea. Yeah. Makes you think. Makes you think. Let's see. I'm just reading through some of these. How you doing, Hebrew girl? It's good to have you with us as well. Peace and blessings to you, Lorraine Yah. Good to have you with us. I like that one. We thank the Most High for being church and religious dropouts. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Rowan Spicy Jamaican. The information coming out now is so clear that I'm in awe because not long ago I came into the awakening and are shown the same information before I hear it in the natural. Yes, it was an experience for most of us, I'm telling you. As I'm studying some of this, and it's like, oh my gosh, I used to believe that. I used to say that, and you can't unsee it now. It's like trying to go back into that. It's like, I don't even see how that would work. Yeah, I can't even fathom that. Let's see. Yes, Biden is a Catholic. He most certainly is. Let's see what else. Yeah, Most High is definitely, we can see his hand in all of this. We certainly can. I mean, it's just hard to keep up with all of this stuff. The Trump setup for Vance. That, they're pushing him out there awfully early. Is it because they're not expecting the other one to complete his term? Something to think about. Something to think about. Let's see. Okay. Just looking at some more of these. Woe-fi Israel. Some people are so blinded by the love doctrine, they clearly miss the real message. I know that's right. Son of Jacob, Vance still premature and wet behind them little ears. Yeah, there are some of them I just can't bear listening to. Yeah, that's a good question, Angie. How do you return to the matrix after waking up from it? And why would anyone want to? Great question. Why would anyone want to? I don't know. Yeah, there's no looking back now. The serpent in the garden is the dragon in the end, Brother Don says. Just another woman. It's so true. They want to say and do anything to us, but we're supposed to say, we forgive you, not tonight or any day. We've definitely, they taught us well, didn't they? They taught us well, but like I said, it's their turn to turn the other cheek now. It's their turn to be the example. Show us what that looks like, to walk in love, to be at peace with others. DNL Boyer, make it make sense. The same law that they say we failed to keep and have lost our place is the law done away with so that they get to take our place and not have to follow that law. So what are they called? The lawless ones. Lawless. Miss Colia went to Vatican City and was surprised that it was a self-contained governing body. Yes. So the whole truth, so help me out. So sit tight, their world is collapsing in real time and they can't stop the freight train. Look, when they start turning on each other, You know, the tides are changing. Greenland, Canada, they're putting out statements, trying to unite with each other, trying to create a coalition. It is serious around here. Look, we need to keep our eyes on the Most High. They pretend not to see the abuse, is what it is. They pretend not to see it. Nothing they say makes sense. A shame they don't get how crazy they sound. For sure. For sure. Well, I am going to wrap it up with that one. So again, thank you all for joining me for the live. There's still some more that I need to share on this because it fits into everything that we see happening right now, particularly with all of these conversions and folks out here heavily promoting Catholicism. I just pray that our people will wake up to the truth and come out of it, that they will open their eyes. I mean, if you would just start reading the history from like 350 AD, it should be clear what the legacy of the Roman Catholic Church is. It should be clear. It's only when you won't read and try to understand and you just listen to them tell you what it is, what it says, and you don't take the time to read it, you're going to be deceived because as I shared in the last session, they change things at will. One cardinal is saying this, the Pope is saying a different thing, someone else is saying that, and it's basically, again, very much like Donald Trump. I'll say whatever you need me to say to get what I want. So you have to wake up to this. This is not what the Most High wanted for his people. He's telling them to come out of it. Come out of her. So I pray that our people will take heed and listen. So family, again, thanks for joining me. I did want to say thank you to all of you who support this ministry with your prayers, with your donations. A lot of anonymous, so it's hard to send a thank you, but thank you to those of you who have been supporting. Even the prayers, the message, the little notes of encouragement. Thank you. It is much appreciated to help us with what we're doing. So sometimes I forget to say that, but just know that your gifts are appreciated. So we're going to end it here, family. Peace and blessings to all of you, and enjoy the rest of your week. Join me next time.